When you're ready.
Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, everybody. It's Warren here coming to you from a very sunny and bright Hungary on HealthyLife.tv with my co-host and presenter.
Paul Bursey. Just so that we get it across straight away. I mean, because when I when I'm talking, I can hear myself clearly. I cannot hear Warren 100% clearly. So if there is any problem with the recording, there's not a lot we can do about it.
We
So
try to troubleshoot it.
today's subject: caffeine tolerance, and in relation to exercise performance. So very, very interesting subject. And as I said to Warren beforehand, okay, I'm not sure I know too much more than I knew before when I did my research. And there is a good reason for that. Would you want to tell them what it is? What you told me?
What I told you,
Yeah.
yeah, because caffeine is a natural product. It's a natural stimulant, like as if you were to have coca leaves or guarana. That's going to have a different impact on your body for different people. Okay? Much like the nutrition products that Paul and I do business with, they're all natural, so they have different effects on each individual. Okay, each individual's the impact on each person is unique. But unfortunately, from what I see is that the fraternity, being health, nutrition, medical fraternity, try to pigeonhole or label it under as a drug. They say it's clear that it's a drug. For me, a drug has the same impact on every person that takes that drug. You take a certain drug, it's going to have you can be almost guaranteed it's going to have a certain impact on your body, a certain effect on your body. Obviously, with one or two exceptions here and there. And for this reason, I think this is why, like what Paul says, yeah, he's not much clearer after having done his research. Yeah, look, that's my personal take on it. I see it that this is how people express caffeine as a drug more so than as a natural stimulant. And if you refer to it in one way, your point of view on what that is, whatever it is, whatever that subject may be, is going to be skewed. It's going to be not skewed, but it's going to be um, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Ah, prejudiced, maybe for choice of a better word. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get into. I've got a little bit of, I wouldn't say technical stuff, but maybe slightly boring. But how caffeine tolerance develops. Okay. Now, as we've heard, everyone is unique. Everyone is different. What works for one won't work for another. So caffeine, this is how it works. It basically blocks the brain, or the brain's adenosine receptors. And I had to read that because it's not something I'm used to. And they play a role in sleep, arousal, and cognition. So very, very important. Now, the molecule called adenosine or adenosine
Adenosine.
usually, usually binds the receptors, inhibiting the release of brain chemicals like dopamine. Okay, that increase arousal and promote wakefulness. I like that word, wakefulness. By blocking that adenosine from binding to its receptors, caffeine increases the release of these stimulating brain chemicals that decrease fatigue and increase alertness. So one study with high caffeine dose can block up to 50% of these receptors in the brain. So, but as I said, it varies with each individual. So, how quickly can coffee affect you, or the caffeine?
Yeah, the caffeine.
Yeah.
Almost instantaneously, I think. If you, it depends on how you. Again, it depends on now this. Yeah, not again, but now this. It depends on your tolerance levels. Each of us will build up a certain level of tolerance to caffeine depending on how often or how frequently we consume caffeine. So for example, like if you take like a serious coffee drinker like myself, I only have my coffee in black, no sugar, and I like it strong, yeah, and tasty. So for me, my tolerance for caffeine is much higher than the average person per se. So I can literally have a double espresso and go to sleep. And I won't necessarily wake up in the middle of the night either. I'll sleep through unless I need to go to the toilet, which is probably one of the knock-on effects. Yeah, most likely going to be a knock-on effect from drinking coffee that late at night, because it's a diuretic. So how quickly can it affect your body? I mean, it's going to be almost instantaneous if you don't drink coffee regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're drinking coffee on a frequent basis, your tolerance levels is going to be higher. So therefore, you may not even notice any significant change.
I think on average they reckon about 30 to 60 minutes if you're used to drinking it. So, as I say, I mean, to give you an example, I took some drugs at one, not prescribed drugs at one stage. I'd very rarely take anything, and they said it takes X amount of time to get into your system, like 10 hours or whatever it was, and it was virtually immediate. There was, I knew it straight away. And I'm not talking about placebo effect. It was because I don't take anything, or at that stage I didn't take anything at all. So it worked almost immediately, within minutes, and it started to work. So again, we go back to everyone's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your tolerance is unique. So yeah. So what's healthy for some may not be so good for others, and it's all to do. The difference is the speed at which it affects you or doesn't, as the case may be, and it's all down to how you metabolize it. Right? We're talking about caffeine. We're talking about anything else, but we're talking about caffeine today.
Yeah.
And the speed is influenced by genetic variants. Now, who are you, or who you are? It depends on how you want to look at it. Now, 45% of the population are fast metabolizers. Now, I'm a fast metabolizer, so I know that. 55% of the population are slow metabolizers. So with the faster people, there can be sometimes no effect whatsoever to having a cup of coffee. On the other hand, some people can have increased effects of anxiety and the jitters.
Yeah.
So the fast metabolizer gains protection against heart attacks. The slow metabolizer has an increased risk of heart attack. Okay. Now, I'm going to put you off your cup of coffee. That's not what we're saying, but that just shows the difference. Now, I spoke to someone yesterday who said one cup of coffee can put them in hospital.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that's the other end of the spectrum.
I used to know somebody that had the same caffeine had the same effect on him. So if you drank any caffeinated or ate chocolate with caffeine in it, it could put him in hospital.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a. It wasn't. Yeah. Let's say he had an interesting history. So he had used and abused his body to no end before that happened. So that was one of the consequences of the abuse that he had done to himself over the years. Was if you drank a cup of coffee, he would end up in hospital.
Yeah. So what we're saying is, obviously, if you're not a coffee drinker, then be careful. Okay, if you are a coffee drinker, then consider whether you need to cut down or not. You'll know exactly what the feelings are and whether it affects you. The fast metabolizers, what happens is they're not so vulnerable to the negative effects, and that's what it basically is. There are health benefits with caffeine, including antioxidants and polyphenols, which we've covered before. Very, very important to the human body. With sports performance, it's all about you. You are unique, and you need to find out what works for you on a daily basis. For me, I have about 3 or 4 cups of coffee a week. I have a couple of cups of tea a day, and the odd cup of hot chocolate as well. But I won't have any more than 3 or 4 drinks in a day like that. Usually it's about 3. So, how many do you have, Warren?
Cups of coffee?
Yeah.
I make 1 big cup, a mug. I make it like on the stove. I do the percolated coffee, and then I have that much to start off with in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have approximately the same amount. Like now, I'm actually having the second half now, and it's approximately the same amount. So I have 2 of these in a day typically. I might have a third, and that's less, but the third is about that much. So I might have a third, depending how I feel or whatever. Because for me, it's not about necessarily how I feel. I just really enjoy the taste.
Well, yeah, I mean that's most of the times why we drink it.
Like I don't go to restaurants and drink coffee. I very seldom drink coffee in a restaurant because restaurants just don't serve nice coffee, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because the other challenge we have is who makes the coffee that we drink. Is it good quality? Is it poor quality? What else have they put in it? So that's other things that we have to take into account.
Especially if you're thinking about sports performance. You want your coffee to be clean. You want it to be, if you can,
absolutely.
It's so. If you think about performance, stay away from milk. Stay away from any form of sugars or sugar substitutes. Definitely no cream. Certainly no cream. If you think about sports performance enhancement. So if you want to have a cup of coffee before you go train, do a run. You see, this is the thing. Caffeine is great for muscular strength increase and for improved endurance. All right. Now, for me personally, I can only speak for myself personally. 90% of my training is based around muscular strength improvement and endurance. Okay. And I have a cup of coffee in the morning, and I might even have a breakfast before I train, and then I train like an hour and a half later or something like that. Okay, for 2 hours, or I might train on an empty stomach, which I love to do, by the way. Because then I find my performance is even better. But then, that coffee. I know that coffee is still helping me. Okay, but it's because it's clean, pure coffee. It's 100% Arabica, and then I'm having no sugar, no milk, because that slows down the impact of the caffeine in the body as well. That inhibits the impact of the caffeine, the sugar in particular. And then the milk or cream will do the same thing for you. So if you're drinking coffee for performance or even to stay awake, I would say just get used to having it black.
Well, my background was as a runner. That was what I used to do, and there are some pros and cons for runners. So I really can't talk for anyone else, but I think that one of the biggest things is an improved mental alertness. Okay.
Yeah.
And I always used to find it boosted my pain tolerance, and I think that to a runner, that to me, that's everything, and if I could stave off the pain, then I was fine.
So if you're thinking of adenosine, adenosine or adenosine, which you spoke about earlier, that's a signaling molecule for the brain. So this is where pain receptors, for example, because the caffeine acts as a receptor. So I can definitely I can see that as being having an impact on some people, their pain threshold perhaps. But if you also you mentioned about attention or focus, and this is the other thing that caffeine really benefits you with, is the ability to focus, and I'm sure many people know this, but also your fine motor skills as well, which is another great. So, for example, athletes that need to focus and pay attention for long periods of time, and perhaps would need the added benefit of performance for endurance. You know, if you're looking at cross country or biathlon skiers, you know, they got to shoot, they got to ski for long distances, shoot, ski, or you're looking at a sharpshooter like an archery or any of these trap shooters. They need to be able to pay attention for extended periods of time, you know, not just for studying, but for an athletic performance. That's where caffeine can really benefit you without getting the jitters, which some stimulants will do.
There's a couple of other pros as well. You utilize fat much better.
Yeah.
Also, what I used to like, not so much these days, but it may increase your speed as well. So maybe I should drink more coffee as I get older. It may increase it.
Yeah, they did a research study, and I'm admitting this is only 18 people, 18 athletes. But they did a research study on 18 guys that all belong to teams, different sports teams. And they got them to do 40-meter sprints by 10 40-meter sprints. Okay?
Yeah.
Ooh, all of a sudden your sound has come through a lot clearer now. That's weird.
All right. Yours is still a bit fuzzy. So
fuzzy. That's okay. Fuzzy. So they on this research study, they found that those athletes that drank coffee regularly, they actually petered off their performance as they got through the
because their body gets used to it.
Yeah, the tolerance level was high.
Yeah.
So initially the performance was just carrying them through, and then they didn't have that caffeine because now they also had a key factor there. They also had caffeinated chewing gum as well. So each group had caffeinated chewing gum. The group that didn't drink coffee habitually, that took the caffeinated chewing gum, their performance actually improved after taking as a result of taking the chewing gum. So they were able to maintain those 40-meter interval sprints, you know, up to the 10th interval, much better than the athletes that drink coffee regularly.
That was the impression I got. So if you had someone like let's say a marathon runner, and you're not a coffee drinker, it could benefit you to drink coffee 3 or 4 days beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah, because your body's not used to it, and that's why it would have a better effect.
Yeah, and adversely, if you are a regular coffee drinker, then stop 3 to 5 days before you.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Absolutely weird. I mean, there are some cons as well. Some people can have gastrointestinal issues. And obviously, if you're not used to coffee, you could get headaches.
Okay. If you're not normally drinking coffee and then you do drink?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be different for everyone. And we mentioned the things like jitters and heartburn and heart palpitations, and you could have increased, obviously, urination because it's a diuretic.
Definitely.
So it's going to, as I say, it's going to be different for everyone. I think you'll test and tweak and find what works for you. I think that's the easiest way. Yeah. So, but there's no doubt about it. If you're a regular coffee drinker, the effects decrease over time. Okay, and that's somebody who drinks regularly. So
that's a given. That's a given. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you know, something with regular coffee users, there it doesn't affect. Oh, sorry, people with high blood pressure, it doesn't affect their blood pressure. It doesn't make it any worse. So I find that quite weird.
Yeah, this is the thing that doctors will say that there is no real adverse effect on the body by having a higher tolerance of coffee. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, it depends on how many cups of coffee you're drinking a day. So, if you have a higher tolerance, but you're drinking 2-3 cups of coffee a day, that's fine. But if you're drinking more than 4 cups of coffee a day, that's not fine. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, I think it's because over time, you most likely find people that have been tested with blood pressure issues and caffeine consumption, they are typically most likely drinking coffee quite regularly in any case. So by that stage, it's not going to affect their blood pressure.
Yeah.
I think if someone's got a blood pressure problem and you introduce coffee into their diet, they're going to have issues. I think they're going to have issues in the beginning. They're going to feel something. I'm sure of that. Can't say I'm certain of it, but I'm pretty sure that, in my opinion, it's from experience. They're going to feel it in the beginning. But most people, when they're going to get tested for blood pressure problems, they'll probably been drinking coffee for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. What about caffeine withdrawal? How does that affect people?
Well, again, you could have headaches. In some cases, severe headaches, depending on how dependent they are. How high their tolerance levels are. You could feel like you're getting you could also have blood pressure where your blood pressure level drops significantly.
Yeah.
And you get hypoglycemia where you have low blood pressures. And that can affect, obviously, sometimes you may feel that sometimes it may feel like you need to eat something, but it's not. It's just your blood pressure's dropped.
Yeah, giving you a little jab saying, I don't like it. I mean, I would think with some people, it could actually make people sleepy. On the other hand, it could actually keep you awake and give you sleep problems. So it's going to be different for everyone, And as I say, the symptoms are going to be personal. Would you agree?
The symptoms are not that wide and varied.
Mm.
It's not like you just pick anything from the drawer and you could say that's what happened to me. It's not like that's going to happen. So there's a specific range of symptoms, but each one of us could experience them on different levels as well, like I remember when I gave up drinking coffee so that we could fall pregnant with Laura.
Well, your good lady could fall pregnant, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't affect me at all. I missed having it, but I didn't have any headaches or mood swings or anything like that. But then again, you mentioned early on in the conversation, when I had my operation on my forearm in the hospital, they injected me and they warned me that don't worry, you'll be sleeping just now, kind of stuff. I was awake, man. And then I woke up, and then I eventually did fall asleep, and I woke up halfway through the operation again. So it depends on the individual, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there is research that suggests that coffee consumption, and we're talking about caffeine really, can help with things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, asthma attacks, strokes, cirrhosis of the liver. There's loads of them, I don't know about overconsumption. I can't say for that, but definitely there is a reduced risk when you do take coffee. However, there are obviously things that can work against you, and it depletes some of the minerals and vitamins as well. Like it can be vitamin B, vitamin C, magnesium, zinc, and iron, and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's you've got to find what works for you. So is caffeine tolerance real? I don't know for you. I don't know. You got to find out for yourself. Anyway, I need more coffee. So yeah.
I mean, caffeine tolerance is a real thing, but each person's level is going to be different. Each person's level is going to be unique.
You mentioned about muscles earlier, but caffeine ingestion definitely sustains exercise intensity. If you're a heavy trainer, if you're a real good trainer, it would help your endurance, I think you mentioned earlier. But And I like the fact that see, I like playing with drinks and seeing how they help me, and I've basically found that if I don't go too mad, coffee helps me.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah.
All right. It does definitely help. And even though as I said to you, I can have a double espresso and go to sleep. It does definitely help, even for me. I know if I've had a cup of coffee in the morning before I trained, if I haven't. Not that there's ever really much opportunity for me not to have had a cup of coffee before I train, but still, I know the difference. And I used to drink on average around 8 cups of coffee a day before, and I know what that did to my body, man.
Yeah.
It got. I never realized what I was doing until one day somebody hadn't seen me for a long time, and they said, "Warren, you look like hell, man." And I was like, "Thanks." And then I realized,
I feel fantastic.
I'm like, woo.
Well, until later.
I want to tell you a little story here. I was working in a hotel in Dubai, and we had a company came through that does organic coffees, and they do like when when they do these like co-op, so they take on the small coffee producers,
Yeah.
and then there's all organic coffees and really nice coffees, and they wanted to bring their coffees into the hotel where I was working at the time. So we did a taste testing day one day. So they came in with all the range of coffees, and myself and the other managers in the hotel, we were all like there, and we were tasting different, like we're tasting espressos and cappuccinos and mochas and this and that and everything like that. Although I was just having espressos of the different types, I wasn't interested in cappuccinos and all that stuff. I was just having espressos, but with different types of coffee. And then because I worked on a complex, it was like two hotels on one property, okay. And I had a golf buggy. You know those golf buggies?
Mm-hmm.
And we had these lanes that weaved through the hotel complex. All right. And I would say if I needed to get from one side to the other, I'd just jump in my buggy and off I'd go. I swear to you. I walked out of that restaurant and I climbed in my buggy, and my buggy's like doing 10 k's an hour max, all right? It's like super slow. I felt like I was I thought I was like in a virtual reality kind of game. It felt like the world was just buzzing past me because I was flying. So I was really flying on caffeine that day. I think I probably had about 10 espressos. I'm not sure. But it was so much coffee. Oh, man. I still remember clearly. As the guests were going past, I was like, the world's going so fast.
Now, of course, the Americans call it a cup of Joe, don't they? That's what they call it, coffee. And so 1 cup of coffee a day, 2, 3, 4. It all depends, doesn't it? It all depends on you.
Four healthy max.
Yeah.
Healthy max.
As I say, I'll have 3 or 4 cups of coffee a week, and that's enough for me. Although I do like a cappuccino when I go out. I've got to say, I don't like espresso. So cappuccino is the only hot drink that I don't. No, that's not the only one. The only coffee that I drink without sugar, or a alternative.
Okay.
Right, it's just cappuccino, and that's why I have them. So, but with that, is there anything else you can tell us at all about coffee and exercise performance? What would you suggest moving forward for individuals?
Yeah, I'd say, hey, look, if you're now planning, let's say you're training for something and you're not a coffee drinker or you're not a big coffee drinker, and you're training for an event, maybe it's a marathon like Paul used to do or something, you're training for some physical event, maybe it's a swimming event or something, then perhaps start with some coffee, like give it a trial it a little bit first, have a cup of coffee or like an espresso before you go train, and do that once or twice, get a feel for what it feels like, and then go off the coffee again, and then before your event, introduce it a couple of days, 2, 3 days before your event itself, so that your body is more familiar with it. Don't, it's like, you're not going to go run a marathon on a brand new pair of shoes, running shoes. You're not going to do that because you're not going to finish. You're probably going to end up with blisters.
Unless you're an idiot.
Yeah, but there's many idiots, if you want to label them that. They do that, right? So, that's the risk with it. And again, if you feel that coffee's not serving you, then there's no real need to drink it unless you're drinking it because you enjoy a cup of coffee. So, just be careful. I think people also, the medical fraternity label it a drug because people can become addicted to coffee because it is such a stimulant. So just be cautious of it and wary of that as well. That's all.
Absolutely. With that, I think we're done. So if you've got any questions, please let us know. If you found this useful, and you can hear Warren, then please share it. Show a bit of love, like it, and whatever. And yes, absolutely, lots of love. And if you're on YouTube, please like it on there. If it's on a podcast, please do whatever you need to do to promote it. If you can share it, it'd be even better. So with that, we're going to be gone, and we'll speak to you next week. We don't know what the subject's going to be, and we didn't know till last night what the subject was going to be. And we enjoy doing these. So if you any particular subjects you like, let us know, and we will implement them in just for you. Okay.
Happy to explore and do some research on
Absolutely. So we're going. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Cheers. Bye.